Yeah.
Very few Christians do. They're all, most Christians sort of haven't really got into it. But we need to get into it now because the world system is collapsing. It's just collapsing.
You won't like this one, Richard. This is from Barry. It says, quick email to say that your guest tonight, Dr. Richard Kent, is fabulous.
Oh, right.
Okay, I could listen to him all night. He's very clever, very enthusiastic, very comforting too, especially talking about the end times and financial collapse, which may make people very scared. To live the way Richard does is truly wonderful. Offering everything for free is so refreshing to hear from a Christian. I like the way you do things, Howard, as well. Oh, thanks. But the vast majority of Christian channels just want, and are a disgrace, and they use Jesus for personal gain. Disgraceful, she says. Not, he says. I'm multitasking at the moment, listening to your show and reading Richard's website. Wonderful content. I'm not going to sleep tonight. God bless you. Thanks, Barry.
Thank you, my friend. That's good. I'm glad.
That's great because, all the work that goes into creating a website and putting that information on, it's really, you work into the wee hours and you get up early and work. But isn't it exciting? I was up the other morning at 5 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't sleep. I was so excited about the script that I'm writing about who is Jesus of Nazareth. Yes. I've wanted to do it since my late 20s, and I'm putting it together as like a documentary. And it's so exciting. There's so much evidence. If the world knew just how much evidence that there is that he is a historical person, and that he's not just was a good man, that he's not fictitious as a fable. You're crazy, you guys out there who just didn't think that he existed at all, and this is all made up. There is too many. The chances of him never existing, it's unfathomable. The chances that all those prophecies that mentioned about him over the 1,500 years prior to his coming, you couldn't. It would have been just incalculable, the odds for him not. Someone like him to have tried to manipulate those prophecies to fulfill them.
Impossible.
It's impossible, isn't it?
I agree with you. Do you know Chuck Missler? Have you heard of Chuck Missler?
Yeah,
he's done a lot of work on this.
He's on Genesis as well.
Was he?
Yeah.
Bless him. Well, he's a wonderful guy. I know him quite well.
He doesn't come on the live programs that often, but he's
in America. But he's done a lot of work on this, same as you. It's impossible that Jesus is not the Messiah. He is the Messiah, and he's a figure in history.
Right, another email here. Let me see if I can get it to be larger print, because my eyesight's getting worse. Sent from my iPhone. This is from Edward. Hi, guys. Ever mention of rapture, there's a resurrection first. And before that, there's a trumpet blast. The last trump of Revelation. Of Rev, I don't know what that means. It seems to me Paul taught the day of the Lord from Old Testament. So for me in Scripture, the rapture is post-tribulation. Eddie from Cork in Ireland.
Eddie, well, bless you, Eddie.
Yeah.
There are various views on the rapture. There's the pre-tribulation, the mid-tribulation, the pre-wrath rapture, and the post-tribulation rapture, and no rapture at all. There are some wonderful Christians who don't believe there's going to be rapture at all. Well, bless you, I actually don't agree with you, but we'll find out on the way out, won't we?
That's it.
We'll find out on the way out.
In a way, it's a little bit irrelevant, because the thing is, God's got a plan, and even if we don't know the timing of that or the chronological order, it nevertheless is going to happen. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, I'd like to be prepared just in case I'm in a false sense of security that I'm not going to go through any time of trouble. So I'm of a mind that if it goes mid or post, that's fine. I'm ready for it. Okay. Whereas I might get caught short if I think I'm going first and I'm out of here and whoopie-doo.
Shall I just tell you?
That's my take.
What happened in my case is we had 3 little kids, and one of them, who was age 6 at the time, came to me and said, "Daddy, if we love Jesus, does that mean we've got to be beheaded? Because believers will be beheaded during the tribulation." So I did a very, very serious Bible study about the end times. Mm-hmm. Very serious, and I'm convinced myself it's a pre-tribulation. There's no condemnation for those in Christ Jesus. And the Old Testament model is that believers get taken out of the time of wrath.
But it says some of you will be thrown into prison. Some of you will lose your life on account of me, Jesus said, didn't he?
He did say that, and that certainly happened.
I know in times past, but doesn't it mention in Revelation, which is all about the end times specifically, it's not any other period, because John was taken in to see what was going to happen in the future. and it does talk about it there.
Well, the Christian church is not mentioned after Revelation 4 when it says, "Come up here," which is the rapture. I saw an open... At the beginning of Revelation 4, it said... Revelation 1, 2 and 3 of the 7 letters of the 7 churches. And then it says, "I saw an open door and a voice said, 'Come up here.'" And the church is not mentioned till Revelation 19, actually, when the church all comes back to planet Earth again.
But it says, and I'm trying to find it, in Revelation it says also that there was a great crowd of people, witnesses, standing before the Lord, and there was some obviously crying out at that time that, how much longer, Lord, before you avenge your saints,
the souls of those beheaded.
Yeah,
you're talking about that. Yeah, well, that is, of course,
during the tribulation, about people like Stephen and James. And
the people who become believers during the tribulation. I mean, the tribulation is going to be a time of tremendous evangelism.
See, those who become believers in that time.
Of course, there's going to be lots of people become. I mean, there's going to be 144,000 evangelists.
144,000.
12 from
that's right. From each tribe.
And of course there'll be the two witnesses. In Revelation 11, and they're going to do miraculous things, and of course it's going to be a wonderful time for evangelism, amazing time. But the trouble is, during that time, because of the Antichrist edict that if you don't accept the mark of the beast and bow down and worship his image, you're going to be beheaded. That's what's going to happen to a lot of them, and that's why it's a jolly good idea to get people saved now before the tribulation starts, which is coming our way soon.
It's fascinating scriptures here. I'm just reading in Revelation. Might get a chance to get into it. Let me just see if there's another email here. This is from Danny from Somerset. "Hi Howard, like many I struggle with the pre-trib rapture and consider mid-trib to be more acceptable. Can Richard persuade me towards a pre-trib undertaking?"
Yes, Richard can. Richard definitely can.
Well, Danny, let us know. You've heard some of the arguments so far. That was you sent that email a few minutes ago, so you might have heard the answer already. Let me know.
Let's give him a few more pointers, actually, I mean. So the thing is, the mid-tribulation rapture, I mean, I understand that. People think about the last trumpet. It's in Revelation 10. However, the thing is that there's the doctrine of imminence, and we don't know. We don't know exactly when the rapture is going to be. Now, if it's going to be the mid-tribulation, the tribulation 7 years, it's very easy to work out exactly when it's going to be. It'll be 3.5 years after Antichrist signs a 7-year peace deal with all the Arab nations around Israel. And you forget about the doctrine of imminence. But going back to the Old Testament models, God saved, for example, Noah and his family from the whole flood on the whole earth. He saved them from it, not in the middle of it. He saved them from it. For example, the children of Israel were in Goshen, and of course they didn't have the plagues.
After the first 2 or 3, wasn't it?
They didn't have the plagues. So there are a whole lot of examples. In Jericho, there was Rahab, the prostitute, and she was saved from Jericho, you see.
Right.
The believers are saved out of the tribulation before God said. In fact, in Genesis 19, I'm just trying to get my head all around this, there's a little town called Zoar, and the believers have to get out of Sodom and Gomorrah to Zoar, this little town, and God says, I cannot send judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah until Lot is out of Sodom and Gomorrah in this little town called Zoar. So that's a picture, you see. God cannot send judgment. God cannot send judgment on the world until the believers are out. And Antichrist cannot be revealed until he who is restraining, that's the church, is taken out of the way.
Okay, what about this? It says, Jesus said at that time of the discourse on Mount of Olives, where I was asking about when he was coming back.
Yeah.
He said there would be this time of great tribulation, such as never occurred since the world became.
Yeah.
Unless those days were cut short, no flesh would be saved at all.
Yeah.
But on account of the chosen ones, those days would be cut short. So, in other words, you got to be in the time of great trouble in order to be taken out. So, so you're entered into the time of trouble. You see what I mean?
Well, no, I don't know. I think what...
I'm not explaining it very well.
Well, no, I do see what you mean. But the thing is, we are living in a time of potential trouble right now, because since 1945, we live in the nuclear age. And, you know,